Good evening, and welcome back to Boring History for Sleep. Tonight, we travel nearly 2,000 years to a world of dust and discipline, of leather tents and long roads stretching toward distant horizons. A world where the rhythm of daily life was measured not by clocks, but by marching feet and the steady clink of iron against iron. The Roman Empire, a name that still echoes with marble columns, grand amphitheaters, and powerful emperors. But beneath the triumphal arches and carved stone reliefs lived millions of ordinary people, farmers, merchants, slaves, and perhaps most emblematic of Rome's expansion. Tonight, we will begin not in a palace, nor in a senate chamber, but on the cold ground of a military encampment. You will not be an emperor. You will not command armies. You will not ride at the head of a column. Instead, imagine yourself as one of the thousands of ordinary soldiers who carried Rome on their backs. Feel the slow breath of early morning air, the faint scent of damp earth, the distant murmur of other men stirring in their tents. As always, settle into comfort. Let your breathing slow. There is nowhere to go, nothing to accomplish. The march we take tonight will be steady, measured, and calm. And so, let us begin. Imagine yourself waking before dawn. There is no gentle light switch, no soft mattress, no quiet room. Instead, you open your eyes beneath thick leather stretched across a wooden frame. The tent is low. You cannot fully sit upright without brushing the curved ceiling above you. The air inside is cool, heavy with the scent of oiled leather, damp wool cloaks, and the faint metallic taps of iron weapons stacked nearby. 8 men share this space. You are one of them. The ground beneath you is hard-packed soil. Perhaps a thin blanket lies between you and the earth, but you can still feel every uneven stone pressing through the fabric. Outside, you hear the muted shuffle of sandals against dirt, a cough, the quiet clatter of a shield being lifted. A horn sounds in the distance. It is not loud, not dramatic, just a simple note that signals the beginning of another day. You have been awake like this many times before, and already, before your body has fully risen, the weight of the day presses upon you. Not metaphorically, physically, because beside you lies your gear. A Roman legionary does not travel lightly. When fully equipped, you carry perhaps 30 to 40 kilograms of armor, tools, weapons, and supplies. Your shield, alone large, curved, rectangular, is sturdy and heavy. Your helmet, iron and close-fitting, rests nearby. Your chainmail shirt or segmented armor waits to be fastened. There is no option to leave anything behind. Every strap must be tightened, every buckle secured. The ritual is slow, familiar, the rhythm of their lives. You slip into your tunic first, rough wool against skin, then armor cool, at first touch, then gradually warming with your body heat. The weight settles onto your shoulders like an uninvited companion. You feel smaller beneath it, heavier, less like an individual, more like a moving part within a vast machine. Outside the tent, the sky is still dim. A faint gray stretches along the horizon. Other men emerge, adjusting belts, lifting packs. No one speaks loudly. Conversation, if any, is low and practical. There is work to do. Perhaps today is a marching day. If so, you will walk, and walk, and walk. Roman legions were known for their endurance. 20 miles in a single day was not unusual. Sometimes more. The road beneath your sandals may be paved stone, engineered with Roman precision, or it may be little more than a muddy track carved through foreign countryside. Your sandals have thick soles studded with iron nails, they grip well, but they do not cushion. After several miles, you begin to feel the steady friction against your heel, the subtle warmth that warns of a forming blister. You do not stop. You cannot. The column stretches long behind and ahead of you, hundreds, sometimes thousands, moving as one. The only constant sound is the synchronized rhythm of steps, the occasional jingle of metal fittings, the creak of leather straps. There is a strange monotony to it. Hours pass. The sun rises higher. Armor grows warm. Sweat collects beneath the metal plates, soak in your tunic. It does not evaporate. It lingers, sticky and persistent. You adjust the strap on your shoulder. The weight does not lessen. Imagine the sensation not dramatic, not painful in any sharp way but persistent. A dull ache settling into your lower back, into your calves, into the soles of your feet. And still, the march continues. When the column halts, it is not for rest alone, because the Roman legionary does more than fight. He builds. At the end of nearly every marching day, no matter how far you have traveled, you must construct a fortified camp. It is a ritual repeated with almost sacred consistency. First, the layout is marked. Roman camps follow a precise geometric plan. Straight lines, clear divisions. Even in foreign lands, Rome imposes order. Then, you dig a ditch around the perimeter. The soil is heavy, sometimes dry and stubborn, sometimes damp and clinging to your shovel. You drive the tool downward, again and again. The motion becomes mechanical, the rhythm of their lives. Your arms itch, your shoulders protest, you glance sideways. The men beside you dig as well. No one is exempt. The ditch grows deeper. Earth piles up, forming a protective embankment. Stakes are driven into the top. All of this after marching for hours. Only then can you erect your tent. Only then can you eat. And what do you eat? The Roman army was efficient, but not luxurious. Your rations might include hardtack dense, dry bread that requires soaking to soften, salted meat, preserved for long journeys, perhaps a measure of grain to grind into porridge, sour wine diluted with water. It is not a feast. It is fuel. You chew slowly, the bread resists your teeth, the wine tastes sharp, almost bitter. But it refreshes. In its own way, there is comfort in repetition. You eat, you speak quietly, you sit on the ground, and for a moment there is stillness. But discipline is never far away. The Roman army is built upon it. Punishments are structured, predictable, and severe enough to maintain order without constant enforcement. A soldier who disobeys commands may face flogging. A unit that shows cowardice in battle may face decimation, a terrifying ritual in which 1 in 10 men is selected by lot and executed by his own comrades. The very possibility lingers, like a shadow. It is not spoken of often. It does not need to be. The knowledge alone shapes behavior. You stand straighter. You march when ordered. You hold formation. And yet, most of your days are not filled with battle. They are filled with waiting. Long stretches of monotony. Guard duty at the edge of camp. Staring into dark fields. Rain tapping steadily against your helmet. The distant hoot of an owl. The faint rustle of wind in tall grass. You wait for an enemy that may never come. You think of home. Perhaps a small farm in Italy. A mother aging quietly. A younger sibling who barely remembers you. The army promises pay, citizenship after service, sometimes land, but service lasts decades, 25 years, in many cases. Imagine the slow accumulation of time, seasons blending into one another, new territories conquered, new languages heard in marketplaces, new rivers crossed, and always to march. When battle does come, it is sudden. There is shouting, the heavy impact of shield against shield, the press of bodies in tight formation. Batevenere discipline dominates. You do not fight wildly. You move as part of a unit. You thrust when ordered. You advance when commanded. You retreat in measured steps. The chaos is real, but your experience of it is structured, almost mechanical. Afterward, the field grows quiet. Too quiet. The consequences are visible. Lies abruptly ended. The cost of expansion laid bare in the stillness of fallen men. And yet, the next day, the camp must still be built. The ditch must still be dug. The bread must still be eaten. The rhythm resumes. This is perhaps the hardest truth. Not the violence, not the hunger, but the repetition. The endless sequence of marching, digging, guarding, waiting. You begin to understand why many would not last a day, not because they lack courage, but because they underestimate endurance. The quiet endurance required to submit to routine, to carry weight without complaint, to wake before dawn, knowing the pattern will repeat. The Roman legionary is less a hero in shining armor, and more a cog in a carefully engineered system. And yet, through this system, Rome expanded across continents. Roads were laid, provinces organized, fortresses constructed from Britain to Syria. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of the camp at night. The stars above are unfamiliar. Perhaps you are far from Italy now. The air is cooler, the landscape strange. You rest your shield beside you. Your shoulders ache. Your hands are calloused. You are one man among thousands. And tomorrow, before dawn, the horn will sound again. The tent will feel damp. The armor will feel heavy. The road will stretch forward, and the rhythm of their lives will continue. In the next segment, we will leave the dust of the marching column and turn our attention to one man who rose within this vast military machina, man whose ambition reshaped Rome itself. But for now, remain here a moment longer, in the quiet of the camp, beneath the steady stars. Let your breathing slow, let the march fade gently into the distance, as the camp settles into silence. As the distant murmur of legionaries fades into the soft rhythm of night, we gently shift our focus from the ordinary soldier to a man who understood that these soldiers, these weary, disciplined men, were the true foundation of power. Imagine Rome, not on the frontier, but at its heart. The city itself. Narrow streets winding between tall apartment blocks. The distant echo of sandals on stone. Vendors call in softly in the forum. Incense drifting from temple steps. The murmur of politics woven into daily life. Here, long before he commanded legions, a young man named Julius Caesar walked these streets. He was not born into poverty. His family, the Iuli, claimed ancient noble ancestry. Yet by the time of his youth, their influence had faded. They possessed a prestige but not immense wealth. And in Rome, prestige alone did not guarantee power. Imagine him as a young aristocrat, carefully groomed, attentive to appearance, conscious of reputation. Roman society was intensely competitive. Every gesture mattered. Every alliance carried consequence. Caesar's early life unfolded during a period of quiet instability. The Roman Republic was vast, but fragile beneath its surface. Powerful generals commanded loyal armies. Political factions formed and dissolved. Riots were not uncommon. As a young man, Caesar aligned himself with the popular faction, those who sought reforms that favored the common people over the entrenched senatorial elite. This choice was not without risk. During the dictatorship of Sulla, political enemies were hunted. Lists were posted in the forum, names of those condemned. Caesar, connected by marriage to Sulla's opponents, found himself in danger. He went into hiding. Imagine the tension of that time, not dramatic in the way of sudden battle, but quiet and persistent. The uncertainty of each knock at the door. The awareness that power in Rome could shift like sand beneath one's feet. Eventually, he was pardoned, and slowly, patiently, he began to build his career. In Rome, advancement required visibility, and visibility required generosity. Lavish public games, feasts, spectacles. Caesar borrowed heavily to fund these displays. He accumulated enormous debts. Picture the young politician walking through the forum, greeting citizens by name, remembering faces, offering promises. He cultivated loyalty carefully, like a gardener tending fragile shootsy. Ambition, in Rome, was not merely a personal trait. It was an expectation. Step by step, he climbed the cursus anoramda ladaraf, public offices, questor, aedile, praetor. Each role expanded his influence, but the true transformation came when he secured command in Gaul. Imagine the vast landscapes beyond Italy, dense forests, rolling hills, tribal settlements scattered across what is now France and Belgium. Rome's borders did not end there. They pressed outward. For nearly a decade, Caesar campaigned in Gaul. This was not a single dramatic confrontation. It was a long, grinding series of campaigns. Fortifications built, rivers crossed, winter encampments established in hostile territory. His soldiers marched in mud and snow. They built bridges across wide rivers with astonishing speed. They besieged fortified hill towns. Caesar did not merely fight. He wrote. His commentaries on the Gallic War were composed in clear, restrained prose. They described victories, strategies, and enemy movements with calm precision. They circulated in Rome, shaping public perception. The words built his legend as surely as his legions built roads. Imagine senators in Rome reading his reports, each victory adding to his prestige, each successful campaign strengthening his bond with his troops. Because while politicians in Rome debated, Caesar's soldiers fought under his direct command, and loyalty forged in shared hardship is powerful indeed. By the time his Gallic campaigns concluded, Caesar possessed something extraordinary, an experienced army devoted to him personally. Meanwhile, political tensions in Rome deepened. Caesar had once allied with two powerful figures, Pompey and Crassus. What became known as the First It was an informal partnership, built on mutual advantage. But alliances in Rome were rarely permanent. Crassus died during a campaign in the east. Pompey, once Caesar's ally, drifted toward the senatorial elite. The delicate balance fractured. The Senate, wary of Caesar's growing influence, ordered him to disband his army and return to Rome as a private citizen. To do so would strip him of protection. Without the authority of command, he could face prosecution by political enemies. And so, in 49 BCE, he made a choice. Imagine a shallow river marking the boundary between his province and Italy itself. The Rubicon. It was not wide, not dramatic in appearance. A modest stream, yet crossing it with an army meant open rebellion. Picture the moment not as thunder and lightning but as quiet resolve, the sound of water flowing gently over stones. Soldiers waiting for orders. The weight of consequence hanging in the air. E crosib. The phrase attributed to him that die is cast suggests inevitability. Civil war followed. Roman fought Roman. Cities declared allegiance. Armies maneuvered across familiar landscapes now turned battlegrounds. Pompey fled eastward. Caesar pursued. The war was not swift. It stretched across years, from Italy to Greece, to Egypt, to North Africa. Imagine the fatigue not only of soldiers, but of the Republic itself. Institutions strained. Traditions bent. Eventually, Caesar emerged victorious. Pompey was gone. His remaining opponents defeated. Caesar returned to Rome, not merely as a general but as the unchallenged master of the Roman world. He was appointed dictator, first temporarily, then for 10 years. Finally, dictator perpetua, dictator for life. Reforms followed, debts adjusted, colonies established for veterans. The calendar restructured into what we now recognize as the Julian calendar. He centralized power, perhaps believing that Rome required stability more than tradition. But Rome had been a republic for centuries. Many senators feared that beneath the title of dictator lay something else, a king. And Rome had long ago expelled its kings. Imagine the Senate chamber on the Ides of March, 44 BCE, marble floors. Statues watching silently. Senators gathering in their customary robes. Caesar entering, perhaps slightly delayed, perhaps unaware. What followed unfolded quickly. Blades concealed beneath togas. A sudden flurry of motion. The collective act of men who believed they were preserving liberty. The consequences were immediate and irreversible. Caesar fell. But the Republic did not return to its former balance. Instead, more civil wars erupted. New alliances formed. New rivalries sharpened. Eventually's adopted heir, Octavian Lateran, known as Augustus, would consolidate power and become Rome's first emperor. In attempting to preserve the Republic, the conspirators had accelerated its transformation. Imagine, for a moment, the irony. The young aristocrat who borrowed money to fund public games. The general who marched through mud with his men. The politician who cultivated loyalty and wrote calm, measured reports. His life poured into Rome's soil. And Rome changed forever. As you rest now, consider the contrast. The legionary we met, early anonymous, enduring disciplined marched, because men like Caesar commanded it. The fate of thousands rested upon the ambitions of a few. And yet, even Caesar's life, dramatic as it may seem, was shaped by the same rhythms. Early mornings, strategic calculations, patient waiting, power, like marching, is often a matter of endurance. In our next segment, we will leave the Senate and travel far to the mist-covered frontiers of Britain, where an entire Roman legion seems to have vanished from history. But for now, allow the echoes of the Forum to fade. The murmurs quiet, the marble hull empty once more, and the night grows still. Let us drift, now, away from the marble of Rome and the heat of political ambition. Imagine instead a colder landscape. The air is damp. A low mist clings to rolling hills. The sky hangs heavy and pale above a distant horizon. We are far from Italy, now far from vineyards and sun-warmed stone. We are in Roman Britain. It is the 2nd century of the Common Era. Rome's empire stretches from the sands of North Africa to the forests of Germania. And here, on this remote northern edge, the land feels unfinished, uncertain. The Roman army had pushed into Britain decades earlier. Forts were constructed, roads cut through marsh and woodland, towns established where none had stood before. But this frontier was never entirely quiet. Among the legions stationed here was one with a long and distinguished history, Legio Noveno Hispana, the 9th Legion. Imagine their camp: timber walls, watchtowers overlooking moorland, the steady crackle of small cooking fires, soldiers wrapped in cloaks against persistent drizzle, the smell of wet earth mixing with wood smoke. The 9th had served Rome faithfully in many campaigns. Gaul, the East. Their eagle standard had marched across continents. And yet, at some point in the early 2nd century, they vanished from the historical record. Not dramatically, not with a clear, documented final battle. They simply fade. Roman inscriptions list legions stationed across the empire. Later lists do not include the 9th. Stone tablets unearthed by archaeologists record other units in Britain but not them. It is as though a door quietly closed. Imagine being a historian centuries later, tracing fragments of evidence. A carved inscription here, a stamped tile bearing the liege's mark there. Then nothing. The mystery invites speculation. One theory suggests the legion was destroyed in Britain perhaps, in a fierce uprising by northern tribes. The early 2nd century was not peaceful. Tribal confederations resisted Roman rule. Forts were attacked. Garrison towns threatened. It is possible some argue that the 9th marched north and met a devastating defeat. Picture a column moving into rugged terrain, hills rising into shadow, rain soaking cloaks, the unease of unfamiliar ground. Then, an ambush. We must tread carefully here. The details are unknown. If such a battle occurred, it left little direct record. Roman historians who often chronicle triumphs were quieter about defeats. Another theory suggests something less dramatic. Inscriptions discovered in what is now the Netherlands indicate that the 9th may have been transferred there after Britain. It is possible they were redeployed eastward to the Rhine frontier, or even further. If so, their disappearance may reflect bureaucratic reorganization rather than catastrophe. Imagine the slow administrative reshuffling of units. Legions renamed, absorbed, reassigned. Over time, the identity of the 9th dissolving into other formations. There is a quiet melancholy in that possibility, not a sudden end but gradual erasure. Archaeology provides hints, but rarely certainty. Excavations in York known to the Romans as Iberacum have uncovered evidence of the 9th's presence in the 1st century. Their stamped tiles appear in fortress walls, their name carved into stone altars. Then, the trail cools. Later, under Emperor Hadrian, a massive wall is constructed across northern Britain. Hadrian's wall, perhaps in response to instability. Did the disappearance of the 9th influence this decision? We cannot say for certain, and perhaps that uncertainty is what makes the mystery so enduring. Imagine yourself as a soldier stationed at the edge of empire, far from Rome. Letters from home arriving infrequently, if at all. The wind sweeping across open moorland. The knowledge that beyond the frontier lie peoples who do not recognize Roman authority. The empire often presents itself as eternal. Its monuments suggest permanence. But here, At the margins, fragility becomes visible. A legion can disappear. A fort can fall silent. A road can sink beneath grass. The mystery of the Ninth Legion has inspired novels and speculation. Yet the true story, whatever it may have been, was likely experienced by ordinary men. Men who marched, dug ditches, stood watch in rain. Men, much like the Legionary we imagined earlier. Perhaps they faced a final battle whose details were never recorded. Perhaps they were transferred quietly, their name retired without ceremony. History, for all its grand narratives, often leaves spaces between its lines. And in those spaces, imagination rests gently. As you breathe slowly now, consider how many lives across centuries have left only faint traces, fragments of pottery. A name scratched into stone. A broken sword buried in soil. The Roman Empire feels solid when we read about it. But on the frontier, solidity gives way to mist. The wind moves across the hills. The campfires burn low, and somewhere in the quiet earth of Britain, the memory of the Ninth Legion remains unresolved. In our final segment, we will return once more to Rome, not to soldiers or vanished legions, but to the polished floors of senatorial villas, to heated baths and elaborate banquets. We will step from the damp frontier into warmth and marble. But for now, remain here a moment longer. Feel the cool air, the distant horizon, the sense that even empires can lose pieces of themselves. Ever wondered what a typical Tuesday looked like in ancient Rome? Was it all toga parties and gladiator games? Well, not exactly. Today, we're stepping into our time machine to spend 24 hours in the shoes of two very different Romans. A powerful senator and a hardened legionary. Their lives couldn't be more opposite, yet both were vital cogs in the mighty Roman machine. Let's start with the man at the top, Senator Lucius Cornelius. Lucius's day begins before the sun even peeks over the 7 hills of Rome. His slaves gently wake him, not with a blaring alarm, but with the soft light of oil lamps. First things first, getting dressed. This isn't a quick t-shirt and jeans affair. The toga, a symbol of his status as a Roman citizen and senator, is a massive woolen cloth, nearly 20 feet long. It takes at least 2 skilled slaves to drape it correctly over his tunic, creating the iconic, dignified folds. Forget about doing this yourself. It's an art form. Once dressed, it's time for a light breakfast, the ientaculum. Think a piece of bread dipped in wine or olive oil, maybe some cheese or dates. Lucius doesn't linger. His morning is packed. The first order of business is the salutatio, the morning greeting. Clients, men of lower social standing who depend on Lucius's patronage, gather in his atrium. They seek legal help, financial loans, or just a good word put in for them. In return, they offer their loyalty and their vote. It's a carefully choreographed dance of power and obligation, and it's how Lucius maintains his influence. After his clients are dismissed, Lucius heads out, carried through the crowded, noisy streets in a litter by his slaves. He's off to the Curia, the Senate house in the Roman Forum. Walking, that's for common folk. The journey itself is a display of status. Once at the Forum, the heart of Roman Pabita, he meets with his colleagues. They debate new laws, discuss provincial administration, and manage the republics, or later the empire's, finances. Speeches can be long and fiery. Imagine C-SPAN, but with more drama and the fate of millions hanging in the balance. After a grueling morning of politics, it's time for the prandium, or lunch. This is another light meal, often leftovers from the previous night's dinner, eaten quickly. The real culinary event is yet to come. The afternoon might be spent at the public baths, but this isn't just about getting clean. The baths were the social hub of Rome. Here, Lucius can network, make deals, exercise, get a massage, and catch up on the latest gossip, all while enjoying the heated pools and steam rooms. It's a combination of a gym, a spa, and a country club. As evening approaches, we get to the highlight of the senator's day, the Sino, or dinner. This is no simple meal. It's an extravagant affair. Lucius hosts a dinner party, reclining on couches with his guests. The menu is exotic and designed to impress. Courses might include delicacies like stuffed dormice, peacock tongues, and saucer, all washed down with copious amounts of fine wine, often sweetened with honey. Entertainment is a must. There are musicians, dancers, and poets to amuse the guests as they eat and drink late into the night. For a senator like Lucius, this isn't just a party. It's a strategic tool for forging alliances and displaying wealth and power. Finally, well after dark, he retires to his lavish bed, ready to do it all again tomorrow. Now, let's leave the marble villas of Rome and travel hundreds of miles away to the cold, damp frontier. Here, our second Roman, Marcus, a legionary in the 9th Legion, is waking up. There are no slaves here. His alarm clock is the harsh blast of a horn. It's still dark, and the air is frigid. Marcus sleeps in a crowded barracks with 7 other men in his tent group. His privacy is a luxury he's never known. He quickly puts on his tunic, woolen throws, something a senator would scorn, and his hobnailed boots. Breakfast is simple and practical. A piece of hardtack bread and some posca, a sour wine vinegar drink that was surprisingly good at killing bacteria in the water. It's not fancy, but it's fuel. Marcus's morning isn't spent debating laws. It's spent in grueling, relentless training. He and his comrades practice marching in full formation, cobering up 220 miles a day carrying a pack, or sarsona, that weighs over 60 pounds. This isn't just a backpack. It contains his armor, weapons, entrenching tools, a cooking pot, and several days' worth of rations. They practice sword drills, javelin throws, and complex battlefield maneuvers until they can do them in their sleep. The discipline is... A centurion's vine staff is a constant, painful reminder of any mistake. If they aren't training, they are working. Roman legions were incredible engineering corps. Marcus might spend his day building a road, constructing a fort, digging a ditch, or raising a defensive wall. It's back-breaking physical labor, rain or shine. The saying, "an arma marches on its stomach," was a Roman reality. Lunch is eaten on the go, usually more grain, perhaps in the form of porridge or bread, maybe with a bit of cheese or bacon if they're lucky. An afternoon for Marcus doesn't involve a relaxing trip to the baths. While larger forts had their own bath, they were a far cry from the opulent thermae in Rome. For Marcus, it's more training, or more labor. His life is a routine of duty and discipline. There is constant vigilance. The threat of an ambush from the local tribes is ever present. He has to keep his gear, his larica segmentata armor and his gladius sword, in perfect condition. His life, and the lives of his brothers in arms, depend on it. Evening brings a small respite. The main meal of the day is cooked by Marcus and his tent mates over a small fire. It has a simple stew of grain and whatever vegetables or meat they've been issued or could forage. It's a communal meal, a moment to bond with the men who are his family. They share stories, gamble with dice, and maybe write a letter home, carving it onto a wooden tablet if they can read and write. For entertainment, there are no poets or dancers, just the camaraderie of soldiers who face death together. Sleep comes early for Marcus. He lies down on a simple straw pallet in the cramped barracks, exhausted from the day's exertions. He doesn't dream of political ambition, but of finishing his 25 years of service, receiving his plot of land, and finally living a peaceful life. His world is one of mud, sweat, and blood. So there you have it. One empire, two completely different worlds. Lucius, the senator, lives a life of intellectual challenge, political maneuvering, and luxurious indulgence. His currency is influence and wealth. Marcus, the legionary, lives a life of physical hardship, brutal discipline, and constant danger. His currency is strength and loyalty. Lucius shapes the empire with laws and decrees from its glittering center. Marcus defends and expends it with his sword and shovel on its rugged edges. One couldn't exist without the other. The senator's opulent lifestyle is funded by the taxes of the provinces that the legionary secures. The legionary's mission is dictated by the policies decided in the Senate. They are two sides of the same Roman coin, a testament to the incredible complexity and diversity of one of history's greatest civilizations. Which life would you have chosen? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the past. See you next time. And now, the lamps burn low, The marble floors of Rome grow cool beneath the night air. The distant frontier fades into shadow. The marching columns, the Senate debates, the unanswered mysteries, they all settle into stillness. We have traveled far tonight, from the damp leather tent of a Roman legionary, to the cautious ambition of Julius Caesar, to the mist-covered hills, where the Ninth Legion vanished into silence, and finally, to the warm glow of a senator's villa. Each life different, each rhythm distinct, and yet bound together within the same vast empire. Imagine once more the legionary at dawn, the horns sounding softly, the armor settling onto tired shoulders, the steady march forward. Imagine Caesar, standing at the edge of a shallow river, knowing that a single step will change history. Imagine the quiet earth of Britain, holding secrets that may never be fully revealed. Imagine the senator reclining beneath painted ceilings, listening to the gentle trickle of water in his atrium pool. All of them lived beneath the same sky. All of them moved through days filled with routine, some harsh, some comfortable, all human. History often feels grand when we view it from afar. Empires rise and fall. Names echo across centuries. But when we slow down, when we look closely, we see something softer. We see individuals waking before dawn. We see hands fastening armor straps. We see sandals pressing into wet soil. We see voices speaking carefully measured words in a stone chamber. We see the rhythm of their lives, and that rhythm steady, repetitive paentes, not so different from the quiet rhythm of your own breathing now. Inhale slowly, exhale gently. The Roman Empire, for all its roads and legions and marble halls, was built day by day, step by step, conversation by conversation. No moment felt like history to those living it. It was simply morning, simply work, simply waiting, simply sleep. Perhaps that is the most comforting thought of all. The legionary did not know he would be remembered in textbooks. The senator did not know his debates would echo through centuries. Even Caesar, for all his ambition, could not see the full shape of what would follow. They moved forward one day at a time, just as you do. And now, the march is ended. The camp is quiet, the Senate empty, the frontier still. The empire rests. You do not need to carry armor tonight. You do not need to cross any rivers. You do not need to debate in marble halls. You are here. Safe, warm, at ease. Let the distant sound of marching feet fade into silence. Let the echo of Roman voices drift softly away. Let the weight of centuries settle gently into the background. The stars above the ancient camp glow faintly, then dim. And sleep comes, steady and unhurt, like the long Roman road, stretching peacefully into the dark. Good night.